Okay. My name is Lori Druce. I am from Lincoln, Nebraska. I, a week ago actually, had a double mastectomy with deep flap reconstruction. I was diagnosed with invasive ductal carcinoma about October of 2019. And from there, my journey began, I guess, from that standpoint. From my surgery standpoint, checked into the hospital Wednesday morning, got to meet with Dr. C. From there, basically woke up in my room that evening, very tired. But I will tell you that by the next morning, and then very early the next morning, the nurses had me up walking, which was, I knew I'd be walking the next day, but I was kind of surprised it was so soon in the early morning hours, given that I just kind of checked into my room by 7 p.m. the night before. Very tight, soreness, but I was able to manage through with the protocols that PRMA uses and the doctors there use to get through any pain and soreness. And I didn't really have any sharp pains or anything like that. It was really something I called tenderness, soreness, kind of that kind of thing. Next day, it was pretty much all about getting up to walk periodically, obviously resting, sleeping, taking naps, eating, those types of things, and drinking lots of water. Then the second day, it was pretty much the same thing, other than we got to do the shower and got discharged. And given that I'm from Lincoln, this process included me staying in San Antonio here for another about 5 days or so, just to recover and get healthy enough to be able to fly back home, which is happening tomorrow. So that kind of was the, I guess, original plan. I had heard about PRMA from my oncologist. There was someone else from Lincoln that had come down here to do the same type of procedure. So I had talked to my oncologist, I had talked to them, and I can tell you from the very first time I called PRMA, they gave me a wealth of information. The first person that I really talked to, they could tell you how it worked for someone that traveled such a distance that I did. They gave, answered all my questions, and any that they did not know right away, they got back to me very quickly from either email or they would call me, those types of things. I would say they're there along the way for the process. I did my chemo, and then I guess I was a little unusual per my oncologist and my breast surgeon back home in that rather than doing my mastectomy up front, I really wanted to kind of have a normal summer after I was done with radiation. And so I had asked about, what could I do, like from a lumpectomy and maybe lymph node removal versus doing the mastectomy. And it was a collaborative decision, really, talking to PRMA to make sure that the doctors here were comfortable with that, talking to my oncologist to make sure I wasn't taking any additional risk by doing that, talking to my breast surgeon, and he was fine with that, and then obviously making sure it all worked with insurance from that standpoint. And so we did work through that, and that is what I did. I got through radiation. I felt like I had maybe a little more normal summer, but it was still a summer of prepping for last week's surgery. So I met with the nurse, had a consult over the phone. That was still pretty early on. This summer I actually had like a Skype FaceTime meeting with Dr. C, where we could talk through very specifics of my surgery and some of the decisions that I personally got to make about certain things, and just give me again answer my questions about expectations and things like that along the way. Came down the Sunday prior to my surgery, met with the doctor and the nurse first thing Monday morning. Had my COVID test, given the environment that we are in. Basically isolated there for a day, and then showed up for my surgery, which kind of brings me back to last week. But the thing about PRMA is they've done this. Their doctors are very knowledgeable about this. I had a C-section, which actually was an emergency C-section, so that threw a few little wrinkles into the actual surgery, but the doctor was able to work through that, knew what to do, was able to still give me exactly what I was expecting and was looking for from that standpoint. And that's one of the reasons I came here, is that they know how to deal with people that are traveling from a long ways away. They help you through that process in the traveling, finding a hotel, those types of things. And their doctors are very experienced and have done a lot of this. And it was very nice. The next, I met with the surgeon obviously the morning of surgery, but I also saw him both mornings that I was in the hospital, as well as my follow-up that I had just yesterday, actually. So I have great things to say about them. They've taken very good care of me, and I really appreciate that.